Hi, welcome to A Couple of Thought podcast. We are your hosts, Chaya and
Elimelech.
Avers. Oh God, are we Avers or Evers?
Or Avers.
Depends where we live. Together, we will be discussing our passions for food, politics,
Judaism and marriage.
Yeah, exciting. So join us for our podcast and you will be blown away by our
Couple of thoughts.
מודה אני כל בוקר על האור, על עצם היותי, מודה אני עליכם שהנחת לשולחני, שלא אהיה רעב, שלא אדע כאב.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to our second episode of A Couple Thoughts podcast. We are your hosts, Elimelech and
Chaya.
Avers, Halberstam. And we are really thrilled and feel very honored with all the awesome feedback that we received after our first initial podcast. And it encouraged us to keep on going and start our second one. So here we are. It's the end of the summer vacation, and we've had a busy
Wonderful.
summer.
Yeah. Well, it was amazing.
Yeah.
We actually took the mic with us to Paris to see if we could
Podcast on our
podcast
way.
over there, but it didn't happen. So we're here back home from all the different travels that we were throughout Belgium, France, the US of A.
Mm-hmm.
We were everywhere almost.
Yeah. So this summer we decided to send the boys to sleepaway camp in America, in New York. So at the beginning of the summer vacation, I flew with the boys to New York and put them on a bus for some other people to take care of them, which was harder than I thought. Then
We missed them.
We did. We missed them terribly. Then I went back to Holland and we
Took a vacation of a little bit more over a week. We started with a wedding in Antwerp, and we continued our way to Paris, to a little town between Paris and Lyon, which I forgot the name of.
Oh, we traveled all the way down
All the way to the Alps. We stopped off in Lyon. We were in Val Thorens. What's that little city called?
Oh,
where
we stopped in this really cute village on the way, Avalon.
Avalon, yeah, with all the... we saw a lot of sunflowers on the way. A lot of beautiful fields of sunflowers. We even stopped to take pictures.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like I fell inside a Van Gogh painting. I mean, now I understand why he painted so many sunflowers, because he did a lot of his painting in France. Though I did read while we were traveling, every time we passed something that we didn't know about, we Googled it. So we learned a lot along the way. And apparently he was very fascinated by the idea that just the color yellow could have so many different shades. And that's why he was so obsessed with painting the sunflower. But I'm sure it was inspired by the French countryside, which we deeply enjoyed on our way down, traveling
very,
through
very
France.
pretty. And we also enjoyed the higher parts of France, the Alps. We were at a very high altitude. And on Sunday, we even went higher, went for a walk. That was really, really pretty.
I wouldn't call it a walk. I would call it more a hike.
A hike.
A hike.
But it was at very high altitude. It was very nice. Very fresh water. We didn't need to bring water on our hike.
We just drank from the springs.
Yeah. And we even saw some snow in the middle of August, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And then we traveled back from Val Thorens. We drove at once to Paris. We met some friends for a nice...
We also traveled with friends, so that was really wonderful.
That was very nice. And then we met some more friends, Dutch friends in
Paris.
And then we continued at once to Amsterdam, where I was in Holland for one day, and then flew to New York to pick up the boys, actually, which was very nice. Meet a lot of family again. And the boys are very happy to see us, thank God.
Yeah, they were happy to come home, which is a good sign.
Yeah.
But they did have a fabulous summer in summer camp and made a lot of friends and had great experiences.
And they haven't stopped talking since about their amazing experience and about the mean counselors and the amazing food or the terrible food and all the fun activities and trips they did. They really, really had a lot of good time and amazing experience. I'm happy we're able to do it.
Yeah, really thankful for that opportunity to be able to give them that opportunity. So we always like to start off our podcast after all the initial blabbing to talk about, first and foremost, food. And, well, there's a few things. In our travels, we ate in many different places and experienced many different foods. And we wanted to maybe just talk a little bit about kosher food in the areas where we went. And Melech...
Be food critics.
Yeah, we could totally. And Melech also will share the recipe of how to make those sweet potato bits, because we got a lot of feedback from many people who said, we want to know how to make those sweet potato bits. So we thought,
here we go.
Yeah,
so we start with that, then we'll do some reviews of the restaurants that we have encountered in the last 4 or 5 weeks.
I don't know, I feel like a bowl of dough. I ate so much bread in France.
Oh yeah,
but
amazing. So anyways, what I do with the sweet potatoes, I cut them in small cubes.
Like crouton size. Like
crouton
really
size
small.
or slightly bigger, because they do get smaller in the oven. I put a lot of spices because I like spicy food. So I like spicy sweet potatoes.
Like salt, pepper, garlic.
The basics, obviously.
Paprika.
And then I put some cayenne pepper on it, and then olive oil. And I pop them in the oven. That's basically it. And then you watch them go from regular sweet potatoes to amazing sweet potatoes. And I add them to everything. I add them to salad. I add them to a supper as a side dish. I really, really much enjoy them. And the problem is that they get finished too often, and everybody nibs on them. Especially Adina, who loves sweet potato.
But just one detail for people who need a little bit more details on how to cook or bake things. So
Google it.
No. But actually, what I like to do is put it in a bowl, so that way I can toss the olive oil evenly, so they're all coated, and the spices too, and put it on a baking tray that's covered that's covered with parchment paper, and spread out flat evenly, and put it in the oven, which is on usually 180 degrees to 200. But if
Celsius.
if it's on 200, then it will burn easy. You have to be checking on it more.
Yeah, it's better to do it lower.
So if you do it on 180, give it your time, check on it every 10 to 15 minutes, and as soon as it's crispy on the edges, your bits are ready for consumption.
Yummies.
Exactly. So that's the details on the sweet potato bits. You can add them to your salads, like Melech said, to just anything. They're really good and really tasty. And
let's be food critics now about the restaurants we met. You go first.
Should we start with Antwerp? Oh no, we don't really like the food in Antwerp. Sorry.
We like the food, but there's no restaurants really.
Well, there are, but they were all closed or.
Yeah, we didn't really have much time in Antwerp.
Yeah, so we didn't really eat in Antwerp, and there's not that many places that we like there. But we like artichoke and confetti. Yeah, shout out to them.
But Paris.
Mm.
Then the best thing over there are the baked goods. The restaurants that we were there, a lot of them were closed, the good ones. So we didn't really have much good experience with that. Le Shine was okay, the Chinese food. We went there twice.
Yeah, it's good for European standards, the Chinese restaurant Le Shine. Is that a not nice thing to say? But if you've been to Israel or America, there you find really good kosher Chinese. But it definitely was welcome food on a very hungry night after spending all day in Disneyland. So I think we were very, very pleased to eat there, and so were the kids.
But the bakery goods, the boulangerie, and the patisserie, those were breathtaking and very yum.
Very delicious. We, of course, always head first to Rue de Rosier just to get the feeling of the old Jewish ghetto. Quarter, ghetto, both. Yeah. I'm not sure.
And the falafel.
Yeah, we go for some snacks. So we have falafel, but we just buy the falafel balls and trina, and we dip it and we enjoy it. And then we went to the bakery over there, and just the kids got some soft serve ice cream. And then we went to Damiel, which is like the kosher chocolate store.
It's cookies, no?
And they also sell macaroons. So we bought a box of 12 different flavors, and the kids...
they did not last long.
We tasted each one. We all cut them in pieces, and we were like... there was the lemon, and there was raspberry, which I think my favorite was the vanilla. It was... For
sure, hands down.
Absolutely delicious. The lemon one was not too bad, too.
No, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That's basically Paris.
Yeah, in a nutshell. And we passed the Arc de Triomphe. We went to eat at a restaurant there, which we will not name it because it was...
We will not name and shame.
No, but it was not what we wanted it to be.
It was not what the review said online.
It was not what the review said online. It was very underwhelming, as you would say.
But we
very
ate.
Overly expensive. All in all, a very big disappointment in every sense. But
let's move to New York because there they had good restaurants. I went out with my brothers on Thursday. We went to Abe's Corner, which is like a sports bar / good food.
Kosher sports bar.
Kosher sports bar, and it was really nice. And we had a lot of good food. And
give me an example of what you ate there.
I know it wasn't even so special, like the things that they had, but they had a waffle burger, which that was not my favorite, but actually my brother really liked it. It's a waffle, and they have a burger on the top,
like a crispy waffle,
like a Belgian waffle with the burger. But I don't like the sweet and the savory,
like maple syrup style.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It was. I got the point, but I didn't like it. But they also had.
What, you tasted it?
I tasted it, yeah, but that was not. But
so it's like street food, basically.
Yeah, and they also had the chicken poppers, they call them, and there's like good sauce, spicy. I ate most of those.
Yeah. So like good street
really good.
Snacks and things like that.
Yeah, it's like when you're watching sports games and stuff like that kind of food. But it's really good and nice atmosphere and like a nice place.
Kosher sports bar. I've never been. I guess it's new.
It's a new place, and it's really nice. A nice atmosphere, and they actually gave us free drinks.
That's nice.
That was nice.
Well, I have to share that when I was in New York earlier at the beginning of the summer vacation, I ate at Doma Land and Sea, and that was probably the most delicious food I've ever eaten.
That's like in 5 towns, no?
Yeah, in my life. And I have to say, it was very, very delicious prices, but worth it because I experienced such delicious food, roasted vegetables and delicious sauces and good burgers and I don't know, whatever we ordered, tacos. It just was all delicious. So shout out to them. And I don't know if anyone in Amsterdam is listening and thinking of opening a restaurant, like go to places, see how they make good food and don't go mediocre. Like have a good restaurant here. It's not so hard to make good food.
My hands are itching. I was speaking to the kids about it today, about opening up a restaurant in Amsterdam. And then I said, it's like a dream of mine. So my kids are like, so why don't you do it? So why don't you do it? So I said, some dreams turn into nightmares before you know it.
Exactly.
So I don't know if that's actually ever going to happen because I've spoken to many people who said that owning a restaurant is like hell. But who knows? Maybe one day.
One day when we're like older and we have more time.
Yeah.
But we've been spending like more than 10 minutes talking about food. I don't know if we should be concerned about that. But just one more thing I wanted to give a shout out is that when we were in France, we found we were in the 19th district and there's a lot of kosher grocery stores and bakeries. So we went to a few and most of them the bakery goods were parve. And then I saw one bakery, it said biologique, like it was organic. But we went inside and everything was dairy and our kashrut, Chalav Yisrael. And OMG, that was one of the most delicious patisserie that I ever ate in my entire life. Dairy croissants, like butter croissants and baguettes, sourdough baguettes. What else do they have?
Bread.
Oh, we got these sourdough sticks with like cheese and olives twisted into them.
Yum.
I don't know. I just I ate so much of it and they had the chocolate croissants, pain au chocolat. OMG. I can't. It was just so good. And also
they had these strawberry tarts.
Yeah, little strawberry tarts with like slagroom with whipped cream.
But the bottom, like the crust.
The tart shell was like butter crumble in your mouth.
Good
Angels
stuff.
dancing on your tongue. Wow. A lot of metaphors, but seriously, they deserve it.
That was good stuff.
And also the hotel we stayed in the Alps had very delicious dessert.
Yes.
Which we can talk about at another time.
Yeah.
Maybe in honor of Mendel's Bar Mitzvah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, who knows.
When we bring those pastries from France.
But all this brings us to the next point, which is discussion, I think, in every family, and that's budgeting.
Yeah.
Because
so we're going into marriage now.
You
Yeah.
could call it considered marriage.
Because we like to talk about the 4 things: food, marriage, politics, and
religion.
Judaism. So we're up to marriage, I guess.
Yeah, and that's the budgeting. It's so easy to spend, so hard to get to the money. And it just sometimes is frustrating of however much you make, it's never enough. And like, I remember when I worked in David's Corner, and I was having a okay income, which was able to cover my bills. And I remember these 2 people standing and talking to each other. They're having a coffee in David's Corner, and they're saying, yeah, it's so difficult to have to live from paycheck to paycheck. And I knew they were having a very
good salary.
Good salary, good income. Both of them were working, and they're both having good salary. And then I realized very much that money is like a trunk. However big your trunk is, the more stuff you'll take along, and the more money you have, the more you'll spend, the more you spend. And I really realized that. And sometimes it brings some stress, you know what I'm saying? Like, the more you make, the more you spend. But, you know, I'm just glad that we are able to do the things that we did this summer. And yeah, with the discussions that we had about the trying to budget.
Well, I think, you know, it's funny, but it's a very Jewish thing not to talk about money. Like, not to talk about how much money
plus Dutch, because it's also a
like
Dutch
not
thing.
To talk how much money you make, which I think, okay, that makes sense, but also not to talk about if you don't have money. And I think that's something that we could all improve in, I think, in our communities, is not to have so much shame in connection to not being able to afford things. Because, you know, one of the things I always say that no one ever prepared me for marriage is because, you know, growing
things
up,
cost money.
No, I mean, we always had what we needed. I never worried that I didn't have what I needed, Baruch Hashem. And then you get married and you become an independent person, and we were both working, and no one prepared me for those days where, like, you are empty on money and you don't want to go to your parents or your friends and be like, oh, could we borrow money? Because you're like, okay, we'll wait a few days.
Unfortunately, there were times that we had to, that we didn't have a choice. I remember being one time stuck at like a train station, and the money was already minus 1,000, like in the red, and I had to call my brother and say, hey, yo, listen, can you transfer me some money so I can go home?
Yeah.
So those times happen. Yeah, those times were there, and it was not fun.
No.
And yeah, there was some embarrassment. It was embarrassing to do that, but I think everybody at some stage goes through these things.
Yeah, experiences a point where you're not poor, just broke. I remember we read a story in high school, and it's called Not Poor, Just Broke. And, you know, poor is like when there's no end to whichever status you are, and broke is like the money's finished now, a little bit more will come soon. And we had a lot of times where that was the situation. Mm-hmm. But I think one of the things that I wasn't as easygoing about it as you were, because I think you're just a more positive person and also like very much strong faith. So you would always say like, no, don't worry, Hashem will help. It will be okay. And I was like, but I think it's so important to talk about this, because I think one of the biggest things that come between a couple in marriage is money.
A lot of times.
And about spending. For example, I have horrible spending habits. Like, I unfortunately do not check the bank before I go on big
splurges.
I don't say splurges. I buy what I need and a little bit extra. I have a very generous hand. But I think, you know, it's something that I'm learning all the time, how to balance. Sometimes more than others. But I think that money is something that I think is a big trigger in a marriage and could really make or break sometimes for some people a marriage. And I for sure could say that being broke is really not fun. No. It's stressful and it's hard and it's sometimes embarrassing, but that's what I want to say, is that we should take away that stigma, because we're just human beings. We're not made of stone. We're trying our best to you know, support our families, husbands, wives, whoever's working. Sometimes only the husband works, sometimes both work. In our case, I think we both always worked. And at the end of the day, Hashem is the one who decides our parnasa and how much money we should be making, and we need to make ourselves the vessel.
And I've seen that over and over and over again in business, that so many times you think, oh no, this fell through, how am I going to pay, next month or this and that? And then you just have a deal come from a total different angle.
Where you never expected it to come from.
Exactly. And it's like,
no one.
I just see it over and over again that, Hashem really shows us the way. And sometimes we just need a little reminder that it comes from Hashem in order to continue afterwards.
Yeah, and I think, when we had our story that happened, which we'll talk about in another podcast, it's almost 9 years ago?
2013, 14, something.
Whatever. Yeah. And you didn't have a job because of a very horrible work situation that happened to you. And you were home for 2 or 3 months really trying to scramble and figure out what you'll do next, which was really, and our family really came through for us and really helped us out, and which was really wonderful that they were there for us, and I'll never forget how good they were to us, and we managed. And then you went and you took a job in David's Corner, and not that it's a very respectful job. You were filling shelves and you were selling things and meeting people, but for me, coming from New York, and I thought, oh, my husband's working in a store. He was running a company and he was, managing things. And
I was the director of a company when I was 29. And from there, I went to work in a store.
Stocking shelves in a store. And I remember speaking to my mother and I said, oh, I can't believe that he has to do that. And she said, are you kidding me? Which is really so wise of my mother. And she was so true, so right. And she said, are you kidding me? Your husband is the most responsible and respectable person. Instead of sitting home and wasting time and feeling sorry for himself, he's doing what he can to support his family, and you should be proud of him. And she was right. And I am proud of you. I still am proud of you. And I was working with you when you were running that company. And to be honest, doing bookkeeping, even though I was doing it, so not my thing. I found the most wonderful, wonderful place to work. I remember I was looking for a school that worked with children with autism, doing floor time therapy, which was something I was training in. And I found one school in Amsterdam. It's the only school in the Netherlands that practices this therapy, that ideology also of working with autistic children. And I told you, I'm going to work in this school. It wasn't even a question. And I sent them an email and I tried to call and I couldn't get through.
You didn't hear from them.
And I didn't hear from them for 4 months. And I was desperate to get a job because I really wanted to work and get out of the house and help, with the bills that were...
With the broke.
Yeah, with the broke situation. And then one day, I got a phone call. They're like, can you come in? And I came and it was all right, I work there now, Stichting Ark. And I worked there for a few years and it was one of the most beautiful places I ever worked in. And I'm so thankful to Ark for being there. Besides for, it was a good job. It was just such a warm and loving place to work. And it really showed me also, like you said, Hashem is in charge. He directs us. He shows us where we need to be. And the only thing I regret is that in the hard times, I didn't have as much faith as you did. I didn't...
Well, now you can have the faith in the good times too.
Yeah.
Baruch Hashem. Anyway, so thank God. That's what Baruch Hashem means. Now, the next thing I wanted to say, which is a combination of religion and marriage.
1 second, before we skip to the next topic, I really wanted to close this because we started off that Jewish people, we don't talk about money problems. Mm-hmm. We're very ashamed about it. So I want to say, if anyone is listening and you're struggling, know that if you see me, you can talk to me about your struggles about this because I will not judge you. There's nothing to be ashamed about. Hashem decides your lot. If you're not rich with money, you're rich with other things maybe. Mm-hmm. And everyone has things in life that are hard or difficult and things that are easy. And we're all in this together. We all have to help each other out and be supportive of each other and look out for each other. So I got your back, peoples.
We got your back.
We've got your back.
So this week's Torah portion talks. In the beginning, it starts with when you go to war and you find a pretty woman that you're allowed to take her home and you're allowed to marry her. And you're not allowed to, whatever, there's all these rules about what's allowed and what's not allowed and what you have to do in order to stay married to her.
Okay, 1 second. Excuse me?
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, in this week's Torah portion, Parshas Kisavo.
The past, what we just
past, Kitetse.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go to war, you see a beautiful woman, you're married.
Yeah.
And you can either violate
and the
this
woman
woman.
is also married.
What?
And the woman is also married.
Okay, you can either violate her like they do in Afghanistan, which we'll get to soon, because, you're a prize of war. Or you have permission, according to the Torah, to what?
Take her home.
Steal her from her husband?
That's what it says. And take her home, and then it says in the
Is that
commentary...
a concubine? Is that what a concubine is called? Or
I have no idea
like that
what
word?
that means.
Yeah, I think so. A woman prison, like present from the war, a concubine.
Anyways, so then it says in commentary, the reason why the Torah allows it is because in case the Torah would not allow it, then people do it anyways, and then fall through with their evil inclination and do it anyways. So I've spoken to different people about it, and actually want to challenge our audience to give us, or actually me, ideas of what you think it makes sense, or at least for me personally, it's something that I find very hard in the Torah, because in my opinion it contradicts the whole idea of the Torah, where you challenge yourself with your evil inclinations and say, hey, yo, I want to eat pork, but I don't. Or as you were saying tonight, I want to eat a steak fried in butter. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Oh, yeah, we were talking about it. Yeah.
That would taste very good, yes, granted, but the Torah doesn't say, okay, you know what? On Mondays after 4, you're allowed to eat steak with butter, because otherwise your evil inclination would take over and you would be allowed to do it.
No, but the Torah tells us do not cook a cow in the milk of his mother.
Exactly.
And that's why we don't eat butter with steak.
And that throughout the whole 365 days, whether you're at war or not. So what I'm saying is, like, however much I understand, we don't want to ask things from people and then they will fall through. But there's also the point of Torah that you have a good and bad in yourself, and you have that fight. And even when you go to war, however much hard war is, you should say, no, this woman is married. I am married. No.
Which also brings in what's going on now in Afghanistan, which could add into politics, is like exactly this situation where that the Taliban, what they come and do is they take women, they rape them, they torture them, they do horrible things to women who are married, they take them away from their husbands, they take war brides, all these horrible things. And then we have the Torah coming, which is a Torah of values and the Torah of morality, and is saying, listen, Jewish men, you're going to war, you see a beautiful woman, instead of raping her and violating her, you can take her home to be your wife. So you're trying to say, how do we make sense of this interesting
like according to Torah? So you're saying
permission from the Torah.
Morally, I understand it's better to do it that way than what's happening now in very many places at war. Granted, it's not. It's always better than to rape a woman, but still.
Oh, better.
If
thanks.
God, no, but I'm saying if God says you have evil inclination, fight against it, then why suddenly does He give you a loophole here and say, okay, but in this case, I let you have it. You know, I just don't understand.
I'm sure, like, there's some Hasidic teaching that will say that really it's a metaphor for the evil inclination. Yeah. That instead of like fighting it with a sword,
it's not the real war; it's the war that you have every day.
And basically, we love Hashem, so we should sing and dance.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Sorry, did I just get a little too far-fetched?
No, it's okay.
No, we love Hasidic teachings. That's part of like the basis of our Judaism. But sometimes like we think that like they use the same like explanation, but that like the example of like everything is that's bad is the Yetzer Hara, and it's like a metaphor. But nothing in Torah is only metaphors. There's actually truth to it.
Yeah, and there's some reasoning. So we invite the audience. If you have ever heard from any nice source a reason for this, let us know.
Yeah.
What's the email address again?
I have to check, but I think it's a couple of thoughts podcast. 2008 or 08.
We'll post it
at
somewhere.
gmail.com. Yeah, we obviously do not use that email address enough. But we want you to answer back. At the end of this podcast, we anyways have our recorded ending, which will have our email address in it. Granted. And then you can respond to us your words of wisdom on this very, very interesting question that Melech has been bothered by, not only this year, but also last year and every year when he sits in shul and he's like, don't understand this. Well, which makes me very proud that you care about women's rights.
Also about the fact that it undermines, in my opinion, the whole idea of conquering your soul and your evil inclination and saying, hey, listen, no, it's not allowed. And why suddenly here we get a pass? That's the question, basically.
Okay.
But do you still want to speak about politics, about what's going on in Afghanistan? Because to me, it really it bothers me so much that I don't really want to talk about it.
Well, the only thing I could say is that, growing up,
and there's so many layers to it also.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's not so simple
Yeah,
just
really
in 5 minutes.
But, for more information, you can go to a local podcast of Megan Kelly. She always has to be mentioned at least once in our podcast. But I do have to say this. Growing up in New York, being a teenager in the time of 9/11, smelling the smoke, the ashes, really living the story of what happened, and knowing that the Taliban and the Al-Qaeda together planned this horrible attack on the United States. And then, the war in Afghanistan, it was something that I followed very closely. And, for me, the Taliban and Al-Qaeda are the same, but apparently they're not. I always thought they were the same. I guess I didn't really follow as much as I should have. But basically, the Taliban is like a tribal...
No, the Taliban
is a tribal kind of Sharia...
it's officially a political party.
Yeah, party that they believe in Muslim rule.
And the Sharia law.
And the Sharia law. But they give permission for
allowed
other tribal groups to kind of get power in smaller mountains and villages in Afghanistan and sometimes Pakistan. And Al-Qaeda was one of these. So when the Taliban was in power in Afghanistan, they kind of gave a free pass to Al-Qaeda to grow and to prosper their terrorist network. And, America went there to fight a war. And, the problem is, I think that what we forget is that when we go to these countries, it's not necessarily to bring democracy to that region. That was we can't. Middle Eastern culture, I don't necessarily think that democracy works for them. Look at what happened in Iraq after Saddam Hussein. It just doesn't work for them.
Look at all those countries.
Yeah, all these countries. And the purpose and the reason why America went into Afghanistan was because of Al-Qaeda and the terrorist attack that they did to America. And all of a sudden, after a few years, people forget, why are we there? No, we're not there to make a democracy. And, we could go on and on about this. Like you said, there's so many layers.
It was really to prevent such a thing to happen again. And with the situation that it is right now, it's very likely to happen again. But on the other hand, you have enough other countries like Pakistan and Iran where terrorism can grow and there's no problem. So just another country where...
Yeah, but it's just a shame on all the fallen soldiers and lives and everything like that. But
and the money.
Yeah.
$1 trillion.
Yeah, we were always supposed to leave Afghanistan. I just think that the way they might have left is a little bit not so responsible. But I also said this to Melech, that to me, what's saying in the news about what's happening in Afghanistan is not necessarily what's happening there, because I'm very careful to read between the lines. And when it says people are saying on the ground, or it has been said, that for me is not proof that that's really what's happening. So I think it might be quieter than what they're claiming, but I don't know. It's not clear to me. But it does bother me. And I also don't want people to die anymore in the world. It's just too sad. So that's my take on Afghanistan. And to end it off, yeah.
Elul. The month of Elul is the month before Rosh Hashanah, for our Jewish New Year. And it's always, for me personally, a little bit of a strange time, because on one hand you really want to dig deep and see where you went wrong this past year. But on the other hand, I also don't feel that I'm quote unquote a bad person, that I did a lot of bad this past year. I'm always trying to do the right thing. So obviously, small things here and there, you do things wrong. But then you have Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. But I do like the aspect of where it's written that Melech Basadeh, that the king is in the field.
Melech, you're Melech.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that. But
Melech
the
is
king
in the field, guys. He's standing there for you.
No, so the king is in the field in order to welcome us after Rosh Hashanah into his palace, and whatever requests we have for the coming year, now is the time that we can, meet the king, not in his regular palace, which will be in Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur.
But he's coming out to the people.
And he's under us, with us, and we can request and more on a personal basis.
King is in the field.
Yeah, the song.
There's a song, but a really nice song actually. It's a rap song about the king is in the field. I forget his name, the singer, but it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Because the words are beautiful. But
But I think that struggle that you have is very normal also for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur in general. Also, like in one hand, it's your father that's judging you, and on the other hand, you want to have a good year. So you have that challenge by Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur also. So I have that also a little bit by Elul already. It starts.
Right. Well, for me, the month of Elul, at the beginning, like this is the last month of the Jewish year. We have 12 months. So at the beginning, I think, okay, Elul's here. Gosh, a whole year has passed. Where did that fly? It also means that I'm starting work again because I'm a teacher. So yay! Oh, yeah. And Melech's going to get his shofar. But what makes me really happy is this sense of renewal. I always feel a certain sense of positivity. I know Hashem, whatever he's doing, is going to be a good year. And if it doesn't feel so good at some times, it will get better. Last year, we thought we're going to have an amazing year. We had such a hard year with COVID. It's going to be better this year. We went through really hard things, but I come out at the end of it feeling only thankfulness and gratitude
I think on a
Hashem.
personal basis, like I'm saying, COVID was there, but for us personally, we didn't have a bad year.
No, we didn't. It was a hard
There were challenges
for the world, for the children, being home, and a sense of gratitude. And I say to all of you, Hashem is our Father, Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King. He loves us. He's here for us. Come to shul, hear the shofar, and
pray for a good year.
Pray for a good year and renew yourselves, because we all have a chance to do that again. And with that, we're going to end with Melech blowing the shofar to usher us into the month of Elul. Go. That's it? Just 1, 2?
That's it.
All right. Thank you all for joining us today on
A Couple of Thoughts podcast.
Yes. We are your hosts, Elimelech and
Chaya.
Avers Halberstam. And if we don't do a podcast before Rosh Hashanah, we want to wish you all a
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova, Umetuka, a sweet,
And
healthy
Happy New Year.
New Year.
All right.
That's a wrap.
Thank you so much for joining our podcast today.
We hope you enjoyed our couple of thoughts and join us again for our next episode. If you have any comments or questions about anything that we discussed today, you are welcome to email us at acoupleofthoughts2008@gmail.com. And we wrote 2008 because that's the year that we got married. So, anyways,
Woohoo!
yes, join us again and peace out. The cover song that we have playing in the background is Modeh Ani Kol Boker from Omer Adam, a song that we love to play for our family and just gives us drive and energy in our service to Hashem and our thankfulness for everything that we have in our lives. So we hope you enjoyed that song as well.
דע לך, שמודה אני